The first thing everyone noticed about the delegation from Noctira wasn't their pale skin or the way the lights seemed to dim around them. It was the silence. Not a single whisper passed among them as they entered the United Earth Assembly Hall. No shuffling of feet. No idle glances. Just perfect, predatory stillness. I shouldn't have been there. I was a junior cultural liaison, barely 3 months into my posting, assigned to observe, take notes, and keep my mouth shut. That last part was emphasized twice in the briefing. The Nocturans weren't just aliens. They were an ancient species rumored to sustain themselves on bioenergetic essence. The tabloids had already given them a name: alien vampires. At the center of their delegation walked Lady Virexa of the Crimson Covenant. She was taller than most humans, her presence commanding without effort. Her eyes shimmered like dark wine under starlight, and her movements were fluid, almost unreal, as if gravity treated her as a suggestion rather than a rule. Every military officer in the hall stood straighter as she passed. Every diplomat swallowed hard. I, unfortunately, tripped. My heel caught the edge of the carpet as I stepped back to make room. I windmilled, collided with a service drone, and sent a data tablet skidding across the polished floor. The echo of the crash rang through the hall like a gunshot. So much for silence. Heat flooded my face as 100 eyes snapped toward me. I bent down too fast, smacked my head on the table, and blurted out the first thing that came to mind. "Well," I said, wincing, "guess I just demonstrated why humans shouldn't be allowed near advanced technology before coffee." A few nervous chuckles rippled through the human side of the chamber, then died instantly. Because Lady Virexa had stopped walking. She turned slowly, her gaze locking onto me with unsettling precision. I felt it like a physical weight pressing against my chest. The room seemed to hold its breath. Then, impossibly, she smiled. It wasn't wide or cruel. It was small, genuine. "Humor," she said, her voice melodic and resonant, used as a shield against humiliation. Fascinating. I opened my mouth to apologize, to explain, to disappear, but she raised a slender hand. "You," she continued, stepping closer. "You amuse me." The general beside me looked like he was about to faint. Before I could process what was happening, Lady Virexa extended her hand, not toward the diplomats, not toward the military commanders, but toward me. "I choose him," she said. The words echoed through the chamber like a shockwave. The meeting ended early. That had never happened before. Within minutes, I was escorted, politely, firmly, and under heavy guard, to a private chamber prepared for the Nocturne delegation. My heart hammered so hard I was sure someone could hear it. "I don't understand," I kept saying. "There has to be a mistake. I just told a bad joke." Lady Virexa dismissed the guards with a gesture. The doors sealed shut, leaving us alone beneath a ceiling that glowed faintly red, mimicking the skies of her home world. "There are no mistakes," she said. "Only revelations." She circled me slowly, studying me as though I were a puzzle. I felt exposed, every insecurity laid bare. "Your species fears us," she continued. "They see predators, monsters who feed on life itself." I swallowed. "That hasn't helped morale, no." Her lips curved again. "Yet when faced with terror, you responded with humor rather than submission. Not defiance, not aggression, humor." She stopped directly in front of me. "Among my kind," she said softly, "that trait vanished millennia ago." I learned then what the briefings had omitted. The Nocturnes were not conquerors. They were survivors. Their vampiric nature was not cruelty, but necessity, a way to draw energy from emotional resonance rather than blood. Fear was abundant. Humor was rare. And intoxicating. "You fed," I said slowly, realization dawning. When I joked, you fed on that moment. Yes, she admitted. And I have not felt such vitality in centuries. My stomach dropped. So, what happens now? Lady Virexa met my gaze, her expression unreadable. Now, she said, you come with me. The journey to Noctira took 13 days through folded space. I spent most of it wondering whether I was a cultural ambassador or an all-you-can-eat buffet. To my surprise, Lady Virexa treated me not as prey, but as a companion. She asked questions, endless questions, about human comedy, irony, satire, and something called dad jokes, which she found inexplicably powerful. Each time I made her laugh, or even smile, the ship's ambient energy level spiked. You are changing us, she told me one night as we gazed at a star collapsing in the distance. Our people have survived on fear for too long. Fear sustains, but it corrodes. I began to understand the weight of her choice. The Crimson Covenant ruled Noctira through strength and tradition. Any change was viewed as weakness. And yet, she had brought me, an unremarkable human, into the heart of their empire. The opposition made itself known the moment we arrived. High Lord Zathran confronted us in the Court of Shadows, his presence radiating cold menace. This human contaminates us, he hissed. You weaken our lineage by favoring a creature that mocks danger. Lady Virexa did not raise her voice. She didn't need to. He reminds us, she replied, that survival without joy is merely a prolonged death. Zathran's eyes burned. Then let him prove his worth. The trial was set. If I failed, I would be drained of my essence, my humor, my vitality, my life, until nothing remained. If I succeeded, no one spoke of that outcome. The trial of resonance was held beneath the blood moons of Noctira. Thousands gathered in the amphitheater, their pale faces lit by crimson light. I stood alone at the center. Make them laugh, Lady Virexa had whispered earlier. Not out of cruelty, out of truth. So, I did the only thing I knew how to do. I told stories. I spoke of human absurdity, of tripping over our own progress, of loving despite knowing loss was inevitable, of laughing at the void because the void was already staring back. At first, there was only silence. Then a ripple. A flicker of emotion passed through the crowd. Confusion, curiosity, something fragile and forgotten. A single nocturne laughed. The sound was sharp, almost painful, as if unused muscles had been forced into motion. Then another, and another. The energy surged like a tidal wave. The blood moons brightened. The very air seemed to hum. High Lord Zathran staggered, overwhelmed by a resonance he could not control. It's impossible, he gasped. Lady Virexa stepped forward, her eyes luminous with something dangerously close to hope. It is inevitable, she said. The ending the trial ended not with my death, but with Zathran's exile. The Covenant changed that night. Not quickly, not easily, but irreversibly. The Nocturnes learned to feed on more than fear. Humor, empathy, shared stories, these became new sources of sustenance. Their cities grew brighter. Their culture softened, without losing its strength. As for me, I was offered a choice. Return to Earth as a hero and a symbol. Or stay. Lady Virexa stood with me on the balcony overlooking Noctira's awakening capital. You were chosen by a joke, she said. But you stayed by choice. I smiled. Guess that makes me dangerously funny. She laughed, freely, beautifully, and the stars above seemed to shine a little brighter. I remained as Earth's first permanent envoy to the alien vampires, a bridge between terror and understanding. And whenever someone asks how I survived first contact with a species that feeds on emotion, I tell them the truth. I didn't fight. I didn't run. I made her laugh. And somehow, that saved us all.